Hey everyone, so welcome back to another update on Sir Metal, how the project is doing, what I've been working on, and what I'm gonna do next, basically. So the first main things that happened is that, as you remember, I was working basically on an editor, mostly because my main engine was not working on an editor, and rather than rewriting an engine from scratch, I wanted to kind of work on an editor. But now, if you check my other video, Search Engine now kind of is moving that direction to make it easier for the user to process resources. So I took what I learned from here, from the editor, building an editor, really basic, and put it into Search Engine. So I decided, due to also the reason, to take this project in a completely different direction, which is more sample-based. So quickly iterate and testing new feature. Like I want to test several different metal features, so rather than focus on an editor, I rather want to have a sandbox where I can quickly iterate. So the engine is more of a series of building blocks that I can use, trying to keep them low coupled, but high cohesion basically, so I can use them, pick and match what I need. So the first big step was to change how I build the project. So I started using CMake and SDL, mostly because I'm not really good with Cocoa yet. So I decided to let SDL for now handle that and using CMake. So it's much easier to build. Before it was not really easy to build. There was this Xcode project. I probably had some hard coded path in there. So we were not being able to build it. So that stuff is still there. It's still under editor. So you see here, there is still the old workspace, the old stuff, but now basically on master and develop, there is the new stuff basically. So we have the samples. So in this folder, basically there is the code for the samples, and you can see I keep a list of the available sample. There is the jump flooding selection, so the one we saw in the other video. I moved that to a sample, and now I also had the shadow PCF and PCSS, percentage close filtering, some shadows that we're gonna see in a minute. So I started to build some sample and basically experimenting with whatever I feel like. So you can see this is the project in C Lion. So if we run it, there we go. So we have it here. So this is normal PCF. So you see it's smoothed all along. You can change the amount of the size of the kernel. Basically, you can change the number of samples. So you can put here something that makes more sense. So this is nice. Of course, 64 samples is a lot, but here we are testing against a white background. Basically, everything is white. Basically, it's the worst case scenario because I really wanted to see the kind of artifacts. But then we can change this and use PCSS. You can see basically the width of the penumbra is changing with the size, but with the distance from the occluder, right? So you can also see it on the cylinder here. So you have very sharp here on the edge, on the beginning of the cylinder, and then getting smoother moving forward. And we have a few parameters here, so we can change with the light size. You can see that after a while it starts to break, and we can see also why. So if you're not familiar with the algorithm, basically here, this step we are showing is basically the blockers. So you jitter around the pixel in the shadow map to try to find blockers, and the bigger the light size, the bigger is the search of the area. So you can see that basically you kind of get the same PCF kind of artifact, but the problem is, with these thin details here of the hand, you can see you can actually get too much separation, and then basically your shadow starts to break. So you cannot push the size of the light too much, but what you can do is basically to increase the penumbra size. So I added a multiplier, right, to push this limit further. And of course, you can reduce the number of blockers. So you can see if your blockers too few samples and the light is too big, you kind of start to break. So if you think here, you see 26, 27, 28 seems to work. And of course, you can change the number of samples you do. So this technique is very heavy. So for the best results, you can see you do 30 samples plus 64, which is like 90 plus samples, if no more, per shadow pixel. There are early out and everything, but overall it's really heavy. So usually it's really not used this technique. Usually use variant shadow maps and stuff like that. But anyway, so this is the sample. It's available here. It's available on developer. I'm going to make the release on master as well. So this is what's new with CMake. I don't know what I'm gonna play with next yet. I'm gonna think about it, see what next I can try. Luckily, I don't have many features available on Metal yet because this laptop is fairly old. It's 2012, basically the first one supporting Metal, so it's kind of limited what I can do, but still very good to experiment. But so this is it. See you in the next video, guys.